Poshmark gave us another amazing feature. Wait, I don't know. I don't think so. What do you guys think about this? Poshmark released a new feature, and the way that they announced it is just pretty, I guess, hilarious or just funny in my opinion. And this is the way they announced it. A tool to help you manage your relationship with buyers is here. Tap to learn about how you can now offer partial refunds. I don't know about you guys, but me, I am not a fan of partial refunds. I do not like it. I do not entertain them. It's either give me the item back, or you keep it and I keep the money, or I forgot to finish the first part, which is give me the item back and you get a full refund. Unless I severely mess up, I will not be issuing a partial refund. So how are partial refunds going to be working on Poshmark? Well, this is how this is going to be. Elevate your customer service with partial refunds, a new feature that gives you more control in the event your buyer is ever dissatisfied with their purchase. If your buyer ever opens a return case with Poshmark support, follow these simple steps. 1. Message the buyer. This allows you to better understand your concern. I personally don't even do that. Whenever somebody does open a return on Poshmark, I don't even talk to the buyer. My first response is always hello Poshmark, because at that point I'm not dealing with the buyer anymore. I'm dealing with Poshmark support. 2. Tap the 3-dot icon, which is those 3 little dots that you always see on the top right, and then offer partial refund. If accepted, the partial refund amount will be deducted from your net earnings. Pretty self-explanatory. Then enter partial refund amount and submit for buyer review. If the buyer accepts, they'll keep the item as is and receive the partial refund. Now, that is not something, again, I will ever utilize, because unless it's something I severely mess up, where yes, it's obvious in the picture that they sent that, okay, that's the same item, and say I forgot a big tear or a big stain or something, that's okay, you know what? I'll accept the return, bring it back, you'll get a full refund. Other than that, I will not be using this feature at all. Maybe you guys might, who knows. There are some stuff that is, I guess, concerning that I have been seeing in some of the other groups that I'm in. And one of them is that people will find ways to abuse this. And that is actually a very legitimate concern. And that's because it happens on eBay all the time. And how will this change Poshmark support? Because this is actually a big deal. There's something else that's actually new that's going to be affected by this. I have yet for a return to be opened since this update has happened. And I think right now it's only happening for a select amount of sellers. So it's not actually site-wide just yet, but it will be coming. And before, when you open the return, it would just open the return. You will get a notification saying case and review, meaning that Poshmark support will be reviewing the case anyways. So I guess what's going to happen now is that you're going to get 3 options. And those 3 options are offer a partial refund, accept return, or report in a return issue. Now, if you offer the partial refund, that's already pretty self-explanatory, where if you offer a partial refund and you and the buyer agree, they'll keep the item and they'll get a certain amount of money back. If you accept the return, the buyer will receive a prepaid shipping label to return back to you. Once the order is delivered back to the seller, we will issue a full refund, including any shipping and tax paid back to the buyer's original form of payment. What I'm gathering from that is that, for one, of course, they're going to get their whole payment back, any taxes, the original shipping that they paid, and of course the price of the item itself. Now, the only thing I'm unclear with is who pays the return shipping, and they are not very clear in this FAQ part, but from what I understand right here is that Poshmark is paying the return shipping. So I guess us as sellers, we're not really out anything. We're just getting the item back. So, even though that's an inconvenience, at least we don't got to pay the return shipping. And then the one that we're probably more familiar with is a report return issue. Actually, I take that back, because this seems to be different now. It says for report return issue, suggest inspecting the return. If the return item is not in the original condition in which it was sent out, we offer sellers the opportunity to report a problem with the return. So that's actually very confusing to me. So are they completely taking away because we're familiar with Poshmark that there is no returns for fit, there is no returns for change mind, there is no returns for I just didn't like it. Usually the returns are for not as described or damaged. And even in those cases, we would actually still get the opportunity to make our case before Poshmark would even accept the return if that were the case. But from what I'm seeing from here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when you choose report return issue, is that before or after? Because it's actually very confusing right here, actually, in the FAQ part. Because before, you would actually be going back and forth with Poshmark and the buyer, trying to make your case whether to accept the return or not. So if you guys actually have the answer for that, please write them in the comments below, because that's the only thing I'm unfamiliar with right now, because like I said, I have not had a return. So is it still going to be the same old way, or is Poshmark starting to divert their return process almost the same as eBay, where they just accept the return? No, that's actually not true, because they actually give you an option to either offer a partial return or accept the return. But what's that third option? The third option is the one that's confusing me. Is it like, are they just accepting returns now, and then after we get the item is when we actually get to make our case, which doesn't make any sense at all? I don't know. If you guys have the answers, please let me know in the comments below. But this is how this new partial return feature is going to work. And it seems that they're trying to go towards that. It's like, you know what, instead of having us deal with it or being a return, just offer them a partial refund and let them be happy. Why does that sound so familiar? In my opinion, is because that's exactly what eBay does. eBay is a little bit different, because I mean, they accept a return for almost anything, and then afterwards is when we have to deal with it, and then eBay doesn't exactly give us the easiest way to fight against a return. But either way, that's essentially how this new Poshmark feature will work. That way we can be giving the customer an elevated experience, which some of those bad customers really shouldn't be on the platforms anyways. But of course, like I said, there are some legitimate buyers. You might have missed something, and yeah, maybe they'll be happy with a $2-3 partial refund from a, say, $80 sale. Just give them the $3, why not, right? I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but some of the concerns that people are having, especially in some of the reselling groups, and it does make sense, is just the fact that people will be finding ways to exploit this. And if Poshmark is starting to accept more and more returns for reasons of doesn't fit, doesn't like, or any of that stuff, then that kind of takes away one of the biggest perks that Poshmark had, that it was very seller friendly. Are they really starting to try to go the way of eBay, where they are not that seller friendly? I'm hoping that's not the case, because I really like Poshmark. I do. Their customer service is great, or it was actually, because before all these changes, their customer service was fast. But now, ever since these changes, it's actually gotten pretty slow, even with being the Posh Ambassador too. By the way, I digress. So what do you guys think about this partial refund feature? If need be, would you utilize it if you did something wrong? Or are you just going to completely avoid it and either accept the return if you just don't want to deal with it? Or are you going to fight it out? If they even let us do that anymore, because I don't know how that's going to work. I'm hoping it doesn't go that way, because like I said, I really like Poshmark. I really like how their return system is. Out of all the transactions I had on Poshmark, I've only had 2 returns. One of them was actually legitimate, and the second one was, like I said, it was after they were bought out. And it was for a very dumb reason, that they let a buyer return a pair of shoes because they didn't like, they didn't like it or it didn't fit based on what the size tag said. So I'm starting to hear a lot of these concerns from Posh sellers, that Poshmark is now starting to accept these kinds of returns, which is actually very disencouraging, at least for me, because that's one of the reasons why I love selling on Poshmark. So I hope Poshmark is not going in that direction, but if it is, there's nothing we can do about it. Just I hope I hope they stay in that same return process where we just go back and forth and we talk to Poshmark directly in that conversation. And I really hope they do not go to that same return format that eBay has, because that is just horrible. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. It would definitely help me out. Also, make sure you hit that bell notification, that way you can be notified when I make a new video. And then you make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know when I make new videos as well. Marketplaces are changing, and unfortunately, it's just something that we have to do. We have to adapt, and then it's not hard. It's actually very easy to adapt to it. You just have to learn it. And thankfully, there are people like me who are able to help you, at least when these kind of new stuff comes out. And hopefully I can explain it good for you guys. But if you guys ever need any more information on any of the marketplaces, some of them are still like a little outdated. But you know what? Is the playlist that I put all the new information on. So make sure you hit this playlist right here. It's all the informational videos that I have out on all of the marketplaces. See you next time, guys.